First of all, I'd like to thank the IPT team for doing such a wonderful job in setting up the conference. And I know it's been hard work because I followed them over the last couple of days. It wasn't easy. So thanks, guys, for that. And obviously, I'd like to thank everybody else for coming. We're going to present you with something today. The information that we're going to give you, I'm sure most of you already know. What we're going to try and do is put it all together so that we can make a point in terms of where we feel the industry is going. Now, I know everybody in this room has been trading their own products, whether they be phones or tablets or whatever else. They've been trading for a number of years. So you're all experienced traders. And it's actually the reason why we're here, and the whole partnership idea with IPT is that we can use the experience of people in this room so that we can bridge what you'll see is a gap between what we have been doing, which is trading hardware, and where we feel the industry is going, which is more towards VoIP. Okay? So I just want to tell you a little bit about my background. I've been in the industry since 1988. Okay? I opened my first store in the West End, in Holborn. I was connecting to Talkland. We were competing with the Carphone Warehouse at the time, because Carphone Warehouse used to be a Talkland dealer. Then they moved on when the company was sold. And we were the second biggest retailer for a number of years until we sold the company to Vodafone in 1996. So we have plenty of experience in retail. We've been in the industry since right from the beginning. Okay. We obviously had the opportunity to sit with all the networks and the manufacturers back in the day when the phones didn't really have enough functions to generate enough handset revenue from the users, and we were there in the discussions of how we all felt the industry should move forward in order that we can generate more revenue from the handsets. And therefore, as you can see, we went from the simple analog handsets that we used to use to the handsets that we use today. So you can see how the industry has moved on in terms of technology from where we were back in '88 to where we are now. And just as a matter of fact, you know, I looked up the other day to see how many subscribers there were when I first joined the industry, and the number of subscribers we had in the UK back then was about 550,000, and now we're on 85 million plus. So you can see there's been plenty of business between then and now. So the important message here is welcome to the future of trading, because actually this is what we believe as a company is the future of trading. We've seen the number of handsets and other high-value electronic products decline in demand sharply over the last few months. I'm going to show you a number of slides. I'm sure everybody's aware of the slides that we're going to show. What we're going to try and do is put all of that together so that we can try and kind of divert your attention, if we can, to where we feel the next big earner will be in the industry. And we don't believe it's in hardware. Okay? So we've got an agenda here which is going to be why VoIP. Now, I know a lot of people don't understand VoIP. Some people do. Some people have traded in it. Some people have traded in it in a way whereby they weren't successful enough in order for them to continue, so they started it and kind of stopped trading in it. We want to talk to you about why IPVDX, and one of the main reasons for that is IPVDX is here to help and not take the natural approach that the VoIP traders have taken to try and get their product to market. But what I want to try and do here is get us, the traders who've been experienced in trading in years with the very customers that the VoIP industry is trying to reach, so that we can get involved in the industry and get our fair share of the pie. So that's basically what this is going to be about. And with IPT, sorry, we gave that a lot of thought because we knew we needed a partner to go to market with. And we decided, I've known Ed for years. I don't quite know how many years, but quite a few. And we decided that IPT would be the best partner for us to do that because, first of all, we know each other, so there's an element of trust. Ed's not one of those people that will sit there and just listen to the story. He's going to pick all the bones out of it, take it back to the office. Everybody else will pick the bones out of it. And then we're going to have discussions over a number of weeks until Ed was happy that actually what we were saying had some meat on the bone and that it was something that we could move forward with. Okay, so that's the relationship and why we approached IPT in the first place in order to make that happen. So the next slide I'm going to show you is, it's self-explanatory. There was always going to be, from the day we started, a point where the industry came to a critical point where we hit saturation. So, you can see in 2015, there are 7.4 billion mobile phone subscribers and 7.3 billion people on the planet. So I think more or less, if we take, the OAPs and the young children out of that, you can see that more or less everybody that needs a phone has a phone. Okay? Now, the growth that you see in the mobile phone subscriber section, for me, is a combination of different things, a combination of upgrades and effectively servicing the industry and the customers that we have. Countries, third world countries, upgrading their phones to phones that can access 3G, 4G, so that they can also take advantage of VoIP and cheaper calls. But obviously, that's going to happen over a long period, and as we know, there are already contracts in place from certain service providers with manufacturers or suppliers of phones that already exist. So they're already in that section. And there's always going to be a scramble between service providers to reduce their churn, to maintain their database. So obviously, now it's going to be a fight between, a competition between all of the service providers to see who can provide a cheaper service or a better service at a better price, so that they can win the customers, so that their subscription, but the subscriber base doesn't shrink. Okay, so that's that. Now, I'll put this graph together because if we go back to the other graph and we see the growth, okay, you don't really know what that growth is made up of. But if we go back, and I couldn't find anything that's going to project the growth in the way that is demonstrated in the next slide in this way, but you can see all the different manufacturers, okay? So in every quarter of every year, that's a slice of every different manufacturer's market share, okay? So even though we're talking about, still a gradual growth in the sales of mobile phone devices or tablets or computers, you can see that they're split up and divided between quite a number of manufacturers, okay? Whereas, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let's start to have a look at, where we are right now, that we've reached the point that we have in 2016. So you could see, In 2015, we hit saturation point. So you can see that this is where we are now, okay? So for the first time in 13 years, Apple have declared a deficit in their revenue, which it's the first time that it's happened since 2003. Now, if we look at this graph carefully, and the people that have been in the industry for long enough, you can see the peaks and troughs. And if you look at it closely enough, you'll know which countries supported that product during those years, during its peaks, what happened in the troughs, and you can follow the whole industry more or less from what happened there. Now, this is the first time that Apple have dropped in the red. So however we think, or however smart we think we are, or however well connected we think we are, okay, we're never going to change the way the industry is bound to grow, okay? So if we go to the next graph, you'll see that exactly the same things happened with the tablet market. Since 2012, there's been a decline. I mean, these are all facts that you guys can look up. And like I said, I'm not going to show you anything here that you don't already know. What I'm going to show you here is just bring your attention to what's actually happening in the marketplace and see that right now, everyone seems to be gnawing a bone that hasn't got much meat on it. Okay? So, and, everybody's used to doing certain volumes. So if we're looking at maintaining the volumes and levels of income that we're used to, we're definitely not going to get it out of these products, okay? So if we're going to the next graph, you're going to see exactly the same with PCs. So, it's not by accident that in 2012, when we hit that critical mass, that everything starts to decline, okay? Because new sales are declining, people want to upgrade, people want to do things. It doesn't add enough revenue into the industry that can be distributed to us, where we can remain happy at the levels that we're trading, because the industry just doesn't have the demand anymore, okay? So now, like anybody, if we had a store that we were selling something from, and we saw that most of our customer base in the region had bought their TV, had bought their phone, had bought all the electronic products that they need at home, and all we're going to do now is service those people, the next thing that we'd have to think of is bringing new products into the store. Because if we don't bring new products into the store, all we're going to do is become a maintenance shop, because that's the way it is. So let's okay, this next slide is the most important one. Just stop it there for a minute. So we can see on the left, okay, that between 2015 or 16 and 2020, we're looking at an increase of revenue in the consumer electronics industry of 2 billion, 5 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, 2 billion. Now, if you compare that with VoIP for the same period, okay, and bearing in mind, it's taken the VoIP industry 25 years to get to where it is now, and then we're talking about the next 4 years, it's going to double. Because, all of the network operators know that in order to start making money, they need to start reducing their costs. And their cost is the infrastructure that they use to provide their customer with the service where they can make calls, okay? Which right now is very expensive. So, everybody, all of the manufacturers are investing money in 3G, 4G, and making sure that they're giving everybody access to VoIP, including businesses are switching to VoIP. Just about everybody you know is switching to VoIP, and even we, using our iPhones or whatever phones we're using, we're now preferring to make calls via Viber or WhatsApp or whatever other means we can, and we avoid the normal phone call. And people are now becoming more and more used to that, okay? Now you could say, you know, it's real easy. I mean, if they were to switch the mobile network off tomorrow, as long as you had a data package in your phone and you were always near Wi-Fi, and when you're not on Wi-Fi, you're on 3 or 4G, you could always use your phone in the normal way without being connected at all to any network. Okay, and that's a fact. Okay, so we're looking at the growth of the consumer electronics industry, which, if we go back to that multicolored graph, is divided into all of these sectors, which are all different products. Okay, so it's like going to a client and saying, you know, what can I sell you? And he doesn't want, you know, high volumes of high value stock. Now what he wants is a spread of stock, because that's what the customer wants. So if we go back to the other graph, what you have on this side is a growth of, you know, 8.6, 9.3, 10, 10.8, and 11.8 billion just in VoIP. This is all VoIP. So, and the strange thing is, you know, I speak to loads of traders, and I ask them about VoIP. I'm amazed that no one, I mean, I registered the IPVDX company in 2012 because I could see from 2012 that the job's going to get harder. What happens if this market closes down or that market closes down? What do we do then? So it was a question of, you know, do we carry on working there until it closes down and then decide how to pay the bills? Or do we try and look forward and see what is the next thing that's going to earn us the kind of money that we like to earn and we're used to earning, okay? So we can start investing in that. So this is exactly what I did. I started investing in IPVDX in 2012. We created a whole platform, okay, which includes banking. Now, I know banking is not your favorite thing, but when I explain why banking, when you're trading in VoIP, is necessary, it's not a, you know, an option, really. It is an option. You could use 5 different banks to do a deal, but it's going to take forever and a day. And I'll explain further on, because obviously it's a lot to do with credit and securing the credit that comes along. But as you can see, I believe that the flat line against the mobile phone, against the consumer electronics revenue forecast, more or less, to me, means that that industry and that patient is dead. Flatlined, finished, it ends there, and we need to look somewhere further along the line if we want to carry on in the industry and increasing our revenue. So you can see here, 35% increase, $42 billion US in 4 years. Now, can you put the circle in? This is a really important element and piece of information that really everybody needs to take on board, okay? From the existing VoIP that's being used, okay, only 12.9% of it is controlled by the big telcos. When I say the big telcos, I'm talking about the likes of AT&T, okay, and all the big telcos that we're familiar with. That's the slice that they control. Now, that's something that I'd like you to look up when you leave here, so that you can see for yourselves that that is the case. And we're now back to the old days, yeah, where you could say that the high street retailers never entered the market until after the consumer tariff was launched in 1991. So up to 1991, you had to go into a shop that sold car stereos to buy your mobile phone, or a shop that sold car alarms to buy your phone. But then when the bigger players came in, okay, like your chain stores, your electrical chain stores, they started to take a slice of the market. Because why? Because they had 800 stores. So they sold one phone each, they sold 800 phones. So they very quickly took over the power that we had in the market. Because why? Because we gave it away. We gave it away. You know, I was one of the lucky few that managed to sell the company, but really and truly, there were a lot of people that were due to make a lot more money out of the hard work that they put in before the mid-90s that never cashed in on it, okay? The other 87.1% is a fragmented market, which means if we work together and together with IPT and the platform that we've built, which we call it a platform. Maybe platform is not the right word to use because people have issues with that word. And people seem to have issues with lots of words that have backfired on them in the past. But we can call it an exchange. What this is going to be an exchange. And what we'd like to do is this. Let's go to the next graph. Okay. What we'd like to do is through IPT, we'd like to use the database that's already there to seamlessly migrate them onto the IPVDX platform. So we can trade VoIP in exactly the same way as you've been used to trading phones. Because I'll tell you why. It's not normally that easy. You know, to trade in VoIP, you would need to have your suppliers, your technical support, your retail, your front end needs to be something that's going to pass some kind of a due diligence with the client, who's going to be satisfied that you've been dealing in VoIP for long enough, that you can support the VoIP business, that you can service the VoIP business, that you can keep the quality within the boundaries that they require. It's not that easy. But for any dealer that wants to use VoIP through IPT and IPVDX, we will provide you with all the tools that you need, including technical support, whatever you need. We'll hold your hand through the whole process. Now, I want to tell you something that happened to me back in '93, because back in '93, my business was flying. So I believed as a 28-year-old that I could walk into any business and ask for anything I wanted and get it, because usually that's what was happening. So I found a company called Arbinet. They were based in Liverpool Street in London, and they were trading in VoIP. So I knew they were trading in VoIP and selling to people like BT and people that were acquiring the new licenses to operate with their own fresh databases. So I walked in and I thought I was going to simply ask the question, this is who we are, this is how much we've got to invest, we want to know about VoIP, you teach us how it works, we'll invest the money and make it happen. And his answer was, if you don't know anything about VoIP, I suggest you leave, go and learn how it works, and when you learn how it works, you can come back, which I couldn't understand. But now that I've researched the market, I now understand why he wasn't prepared to sit me down and teach me how to do the job. It was like, somebody coming afresh and sitting you guys down and saying, look, teach me about what you do. That's never going to happen, is it? They're going to have to go away, do their own research, learn about how the industry works, come back, and then you'll decide whether or not they can fit in your business. If they fit in your business, you'll do business with them. If they don't fit, then you won't use them. Okay? Now, the important thing, and I want to see if I've got it on a graph. I don't think I have. The important thing is this. We as IPVDX have been working real hard on generating the demand, okay? Because generating the demand in any business is the most difficult thing, okay? Finding the clients, making sure that, you know, we can do business with them and they're in a position to buy from us. So just to give you an idea of how it's going to work for IPVDX is this. First of all, our strategy is to capture all of the call center business, okay? Because we can afford to give the call centers a bigger margin. So they have no reason to be buying direct from the tier ones. We can give them a better margin than that as long as they work collectively with us, okay? Number two is IPVDX through a new brand will become an MVNO, yeah? Which means that we're going to have our own SIM cards. We're going to work locally with the local service provider. We will sell their airtime locally, and all of the VoIP and international calls from those SIMs will be our own. So a little bit like Leica Mobile in the UK. I mean, Leica Mobile were quite successful in the sense that they took advantage of something quite early where they took the international calling cards and implemented those into SIM cards and put those into phones. And then everybody knew Leica Mobile were making the cheapest calls. So obviously they grew very quickly as MVNOs. MVNO is another market that we can sell the VoIP to. So what I'm saying right now, until everybody gets educated about VoIP, because for me, it's great for me to have any and everybody that is interested in working with us to help us to grow the business. And then once you guys decide that you can stand alone and do your own thing, you're welcome to go and do that. I mean, this is an arrangement where you come in, you learn about how the whole industry works. Because look, there's $50 billion in the next 4 years to earn. Yeah, that dwarfs the money that the electronics industry has. So I don't care if you're selling phones, SSD cards, products I've never even bothered to look at or learn about, because what kind of volume can I sell in those products to get the returns I need? Yeah? And how long can it go for? And it's like we're dropping one product and going straight into another with the same blueprint. Yeah? And it's not going to go forever. Yeah? It will come to an end. So this is something brand new. We feel it's the future of trading. We want to do it in partnership with IPT. It would be great if even 10% of you in this room were interested to get involved. And because at the end of the day, eventually, you know, everybody will see that the industry will slow down and you will need to look for something else. So the people that get in early get the money. The people that get in later, I'm not saying they're not going to get the money, but they're not going to be in the same position as they are as the people who joined early. If you can imagine, we've got 4 or 5 years to build an infrastructure between us, the 8 by the big telcos, to build bridges between us and them. Yeah? So that we can create a new sector of the business. Okay? Now, some people say, you know, why would they buy something off of you? Notwithstanding the fact that actually what we're doing is we're buying routes from them to terminate our calls. So initially, they're selling to us, but we'll also be selling to them. You'll be selling to me, and I'll be distributing to the clients that we have. So, you know, you could ask the question, you know, how can we afford to do that? Well, how could we afford to sell phones to companies that are 10 times bigger than we are? It's exactly the same thing, you know. It's all down to price, and it's all down to the experience of the trader and the contacts of the trader and how good it is. So this is what we want. We want those more experienced traders to move forward into this part of the industry so that we can make the whole thing work. Now, really for you guys, this is just food for thought. I mean, I haven't put anything up on that board that you guys don't already know, okay? All I want you to know is that for anybody that wants to trade in VoIP, you can come to us. We will give you any of the tools that you require or none in that case. You know, you guys can decide. You've got your own infrastructure and you can just bring the VoIP to us and sell it. Another important thing, the VoIP industry. This is how they like it. The bigger the customer, the longer he wants to pay you, okay? So the guys that are taking the big volume want 60 days. So if you want to supply at the levels that you want to supply, he wants to pay you in 60 days. The way we're going to work is you deliver to us. There's going to be, you know, a number of days of traffic going through the routes that you're selling to us. And as soon as you issue an invoice, we pay. And then we wait the rest of the time to be paid. So with us, we cut out the credit risk for you guys. You deliver, we pay. You bring more, we pay. And that's the way it works. Okay? Now, I've been asked by Ed to the point where we were speaking every day about a diagram that would help the phone trader compare a phone deal with a VoIP deal, okay? So we've put something together. Okay, from my perspective, this is a typical phone deal, okay? We've got the supplier, whoever that may be, Apple, Samsung, whoever that may be, okay? We've got the traders, and then we've got the end client, okay? And underneath is your banking, however you decide to do that. Now, obviously, these are the risks in not only the fact that the volume has disappeared, but these are the risks that you've always run in selling hardware, moving hardware in trucks, you know, long distances to other clients. So you've got logistics, damaged goods, you know, warehouse security, intrastats, and inspections. And on the other side, you've got, once you've delivered, I mean, I'll give you an example. I found a client in Romania because obviously I'm also trading, and I was trading. I'm not doing it anymore. But, you know, I had a client who happened to be one of the biggest clients in Romania. I delivered the first 500. His next order was 3,000. I was scared to deliver. I was scared to deliver because, is he going to pay? It's 3,000 pieces. Can I take the risk? You know? So there's always that risk. Loss of stock and rejection of stock. Okay? So if I move all that away and put a typical VoIP trade, so this is a typical VoIP trade, okay? So we have, where's your little pointer? Okay, so here what we've done is we've removed, there's no warehousing, so all that's gone, okay? Here, the logistics is gone, these are servers, okay? So what's happening now is whichever company is buying from the supplier, okay, will connect his IP to his IP and the VoIP, the line, and this is the part that I wanted everybody to understand, because sometimes this is the part that people don't quite understand, is this. Initially, this company does a deal with the supplier, and the supplier may be Telecom Italia, maybe any tier one, anyone who has a line for sale at the right price. And there are hundreds of suppliers, hundreds, okay? So what happens here is, this guy will buy a route, okay? The route is just a channel that allows our clients who have a database of subscribers, okay, to put their call through the route. So the route will come from the supplier, will go all the way through to us. So that's just now an open route. If no calls go through those routes, then there's nothing to invoice, okay? So you're opening a route, you're putting a deposit down with your supplier, you're opening a route, but if a telephone call doesn't go through, then there's nothing to invoice, okay? But the problem is, once calls start to go through and the invoicing process is, let's say, once a week, every Monday for you guys, so every Monday you send an invoice and you get paid for whatever traffic's gone through, okay? If no traffic goes through, then nothing is outstanding. So all of this will be plugged into our switch, okay? So basically what happens is, because IPVDX is paying, we have offices in these countries at the moment, and we're going to continue to grow. So you can choose which country you can deliver your routes to, yeah? Because we have a demand in every country. And we will tell you, you know, in Poland, we have a demand for these routes. In Albania, we have a demand for these routes. So we'll tell you what routes we need where, and you choose whether you want to or can supply us the routes in those countries. Now, the reason for the escrow, and the guys will explain to you as quickly as they can how the escrow works, is that because the route is open, okay, and I put my traffic through, once the traffic has gone through, then I've basically used up an amount of your money, okay? Unless I prepay for that, okay, nobody's safe. So what's going to happen here is that because the client at the end wants 30 or 60 days to pay, okay, then that's a risk that you would normally have to take that we're going to take. So what's going to happen here is every 7 days we'll pay, the route is open, the traffic goes through, and every 7 days we're invoiced and we'll pay the dealer. And that's basically how that works, yeah? So effectively, that gives you, you know, a very broad idea of how you can trade your VoIP. We'll provide you at IPVDX with all the servers, all the technical support, you know, everything that you need and any questions that you need to have answered in order to help you to develop your business so that you can be able to do more and more volume. Because at the end of the day, this whole business is about margins are reasonably low, so the volume needs to be high, but the volume is high. I mean, you can imagine how many calls are going through 24/7 globally, day in, day out. Yeah? So that's about all I've got to show you in terms of how the whole thing works. I hope you can see that, you know, the point that I was trying to make was saturation point in the electronics industry, and we're looking further forward. We hope you can do that. We're certainly going to work with Ed, with people that we've already started talking to who have already moved into VoIP, South America and other places that we've started to join up with. Other people that are making their own products that we're talking to about putting our own apps in there so that those products can actually call each other for free. So there's lots of things going on. There's a big team of guys here that you guys can talk to and ask any questions you want. But generally speaking, the one graph I want to go back to is the revenue graph. Yeah. This is the big graph for me. Leave the circle on. Okay, so the big thing for me is here, 12 billion spread over a number of different products, and 42 billion, which is pure VoIP. Yeah? And that's where it is. I don't know what you guys estimate SSD's card to be worth, or whatever other products it is that you're selling, but I doubt very much that they're worth $42 billion over 4 years. Yeah? And if anybody can tell me of a product offhand that's worth 42 billion over 4 years, then maybe we're on the wrong track and you can educate us to maybe sell something else. Yeah? But as a last word, I'd like to say this. When I was in retail and I was the second biggest retailer, we had a deal with Auckland where we had a kickback on the revenue. And I'll tell you, the kickback on the revenue was nearly as high as the commission we were earning. So it was the first and only time we got to get a taste of the revenue that was being generated by the end user. I can tell you that if we can do that again now and have a share of the revenue that's generated by the end user, the money's massive. Yeah? It just needs people that have the belief, the patience, the resources, and that want to work as as a team to get in there and get involved and learn about VoIP and move forward and make it happen. Yeah? And then the rest of it is down to you guys. Yeah? That's it from me. If anyone's got any open questions to ask now, you can. Alternatively, the team's going to be here, so you can approach us separately, and we can answer any questions that you may have. We have a couple of other things if you need to see them. I know we're running late in terms of time, but there have been a couple of questions that I'd like to answer now if I can, because it's much easier, okay? People have asked about how tangible is the product, okay? We're already using this product, but we don't ask our service provider how tangible is it when we're about to pay for it, yeah? Because we pay for it. And when we're traveling and roaming and the message comes up, you've just used 200 euros worth of internet, would you like another 200 euros and another 200 euros? We don't ask them, where did we use all of that internet? We just pay for it, okay? Whereas when you're making calls, you know exactly who you're calling and where you're calling, and you've got a better trace in your mind as to where it goes. So, how tangible is the product is really easy. The product passes through servers, okay? So, when you put your money down to AT&T, for example, and he opens you a route, and on the other side, Vodafone or an MVNO or like a mobile put their traffic through and you get paid, then that's a tangible product. But you can always log into your servers and check what traffic you've traded. You can actually see live traffic. And if you guys want, I can log into a server right now so that you can actually see what a server looks like whilst live traffic is going through. Or we can do that later, but it's entirely up to you. And what else was there apart from that? Was the banking. Yeah. We've got a demo of the banking. It's an amazing software. We've got our bankers here, Expo Bank. They're here to support and show their support for what we're doing. One of the biggest issues that you're going to find trading VoIP is convincing your bank what it is. Yeah? Going into your bank and telling them, I want to trade VoIP, okay, is not going to be an easy task, okay? This is why the escrows work so well, because the escrows have already educated the banks. The banks have seen the trades. They're happy with those. So you join in with that, and it makes the trade safer in any event. And in terms of banking, I know, we've all had, I experienced the FCIB disease as well, okay? So I know that most people in the room have, and other platforms that have gone down owing people money. But the fact is, this is a licensed product which goes hand in hand with what we're selling here, and it's something that you can use, or it's something that you can ignore. But, you know, eventually, I think you'll find that once you decide that you want to trade in VoIP, and then you look at banking, you will end up coming here to talk to us about it in any event, so that you can compare it with what else you found and see how that works for you. But for sure, the escrow service does really go hand in hand. We've spent, with our programmers here, and I don't know where else, there's a few more. We've spent over the last 2 years more than €1.5 million putting this software together for the trading platform and the banking. So it's not something we decided yesterday would be a good idea to mention to you today. It's something that we spent a lot of money developing, which I don't think anybody else in the industry has. It's been developed specifically to work in the way that I've described this whole structure. So that also exists. If you want demonstrations, the guys will be happy to demo it to you for the guys that are interested. Apart from that, I'm going to go before we get too bored and leave you guys to it. Thanks very much.